He's gone. I'll say it right now. You got.
What just happened? I'm sorry. What just happened? Wait, who was that? Who just walked off stream? Did somebody just get too offended or like too angry about that? Oh, he's live. He's live with him. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. We actually
beautiful about this time is,
oh my god,
everyone got to see what's really been happening.
Do we have to start from the beginning?
And now we can really understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump.
But so we're getting right into it, I guess, right? I was hoping to go for the news first before we got into all of this stuff.
They're getting straight into it. We got it just in time.
I think the issue is one way to put it is you're expounding upon a localization issue that you've witnessed, right? Let me clarify. There are a handful of people that you see are Jewish in a certain place, and then you associate Judaism.
Oh no,
with
we're starting
power
right there.
Whereas I view that as not relevant to it. Like, yeah, you're substantially more powerful than I am, but I don't view what you're doing as an issue of black people.
Yeah, but have you ever heard the term the black vote? So it's okay to put us in one net, but it's not okay for me to put them in one net.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the basis of the hypocrisy that people have been thinking about
Milo.
and knowing about and realizing for decades. We were all wondering how this dam was going to break. Everybody in the country was wondering what is the root of this hypocrisy? Why can people talk about white people a certain way? Why can't they talk about that group a certain way? And the wretched and wicked and oppressive prevailing orthodoxy of cancel culture. Well, it turned out that the one thing that was going to break the dam was the biggest star in the world, and it took the biggest star in the world to do it. And now the dam is broken.
So let me tell you my issue. I don't like identitarianism. You guys are familiar with what that is?
Well, they started it, and they've been visiting on us. We're trying to break it.
When I was asking you about running for president, you immediately said, well, you know, you'd be good for the black vote. And I said, is that because I'm black? No, not just because of that. So is that. Are you doing the same thing?
I didn't say that was the only reason.
Oh snap! Oh my god, this is gonna, dude. If Tim Pool gets ran over by Kanye West and Milo Yiannopoulos, because this should be all Tim Pool has to say is, yeah, that's true. We do calculate what groups of people do. What black people do overwhelmingly, they do this, what these people do. But that's one thing, and that's one thing, but accusing the Jews of like scheming behind the scenes in the music industry or in all these industries is another thing. Things can happen statistically that we can talk about while not taking incorrect conclusions from those about the Jews scheming. This would be like all he has to do is like push back here. If he gets rolled by Kanye West and Milo Yiannopoulos on the topic of the Jews, oh my god. Oh my, Tim Pool's, if he becomes the next Dave Rubin, I swear.
I said it was because you're personable to the common person, and you probably would do well with the black vote, absolutely.
Just because I'm black, because a lot of black people don't like me.
Of course. I think race plays a role in a lot of things, absolutely. And I think that
I think the construct of race has really been forced upon us as just something for us to be woke about and just constantly talk about and use it as these like walls.
Couldn't you say the same thing about Judaism?
Well, let's look at the facts of what I'm saying, though. If you say in this neighborhood where they gerrymander, there's this amount of time. So, hey, I wasn't doing that. I was just gerrymandering the lawyers and the Hollywood executives and the people at the bank that debanked me and then froze my accounts. You know, it's like we want to jump into protecting.
But it was the bank that did it, not the Jews that did it. That's the difference.
The idea that we can't put a net around something, right? But that's been my job as a producer, to take, you know, a Roy Ayers sample and put a James Brown drum and put it within a 2-minute, 3-minute song. That's the way I actually think, and that's the way I talk. And now this morning, I found out that they were trying to put me in prison because what they did was, I moved $140 million into JP Morgan. And I said, I want to talk to Jamie Dimon. Like, look at me. I'm just going in naive, you know, multi-billionaire. Like, maybe Jamie Dimon will let me in on some deal flow. Wrong. And I'm just like banging my hands like, I want to meet with Jamie. And I start complaining online. And then they debank me. for complaining. And so I'm about to get debanked. They're like, you need to go to Trump's, the bank, AXO, whatever, you got to go. And I'm like, I've been trying to buy my own bank for the longest. And then we figured out how to get my own bank. It's like 50 million, 75 million. So I'm about to buy my own bank. But then as they're about to take the money out, here comes Adidas with a $275 million bill for marketing funds that they agreed upon. Because I said to them, hey, I'm the marketing, give me the marketing fund, which proves by the response they got when they, stole the designs and said, we're going to not call them Yeezys anymore. So this is what I was already fighting Adidas for. So I'm fighting Gap, get out of Gap, fighting Adidas. And then I deal with this little bit of noise from, Zionism from the fashion world, where they use this plant named Gabby, who's obviously like some kind of CIA agent, knows nothing about fashion. This is a certain thing. When someone can't dress.
Okay. So now he's saying not only did they want to put him in prison, he didn't explain that, by the way, but now he's saying that the CIA plants in the fashion world are undermining him. What CIA plants in the fashion world? Dude, he's in the middle of a mental episode, man. And somehow in the middle of his mental episode, Nick Fuentes and Milo were able to latch onto him. I don't know how, but they were able to do it.
You know that they're not like a fashion person. They're just there as like the society, like the control that they try to use with celebrities, which has now been broken, right? Because where it broke. Okay. I want to get on like LeBron in a second. But I'm going to come back to this and just talk about LeBron this morning where,
stay on a point.
I'm not going to mention her name because she's a nice lady, but someone at Cohen Resnick tells me, and I tell all of my finance people, never use the term a lot, but they said, okay, you're going to have to pay a lot of taxes. And that made me feel like they're just like waiting, like we finally got them. We finally can put him in jail. And I was like, can I still run for president in jail? I found out I could. So I was like, okay, that's fine then. It'll be okay.
But if you were Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't.
He did not justify the fact that they want to put him in prison at all. And is anybody going to ask for evidence about the CIA plant thing he just said? Like he's just throwing this stuff out there with little to no evidence.
Touch your bank account, they would allow you to break the rules.
There's over 50,000 people watching this right now, and it's gonna keep climbing to over like 100,000. This is gonna keep climbing because they just started a live stream. Like there gotta be some pushback here, right?
Regulations, just like JP Morgan and Chase did, just like Deutsche Bank did. So there is an issue to bring up with that. But when it comes to the race stuff, I think this is an important discussion to have because I
have to complete this thought. You guys got to.
Okay, go ahead. All
right, because I'm talking about literally finding out that they were trying to put me in prison this morning. Watch this. So
this morning. Okay, let's hear it.
So not come to my house this morning, but I found out. Okay. So they put a $75 million hold on 4 of my accounts. And then they said, you owe a lot of taxes. Took me like 6 hours to find out how much a lot was. They said, well, around $50 million. Now I'm going to different CFOs like, okay, so would this be tax evasion? Because I'm obviously not the most financially literate person on the planet. I was just a child, basically. Like when you become famous, you stop growing at that point. I became famous at age 24 and I had handlers around. I had my mom around, different things. And it was always like you go from one handler to the next handler to the next handler. So now I get to actually learn how to run a company. I get to learn how to count. Really, I was like Pablo in a movie. It was like I didn't even know where to put the money, like literally making $300 million cash, but you're just like a high-priced, we're not going to use the S word just because it's just like too passe to use it. But it's like next year I was supposed to make $500 million in royalties. And like no one needs this amount of money. But when I would work on homeless shelters and ideas, I'd have a contractor, we won't say what race, and
no, stop.
They'd be tearing down the contracts. It's all about, position. It's not about the amount of money that you have. And, to come in here, I feel like it's a setup to be like defending. I'm not going to go through another, like I'm literally going to.
Like, I feel like Kanye is like one step away. Like, you remember that there was this one line he did when he did this like outside interview. And it reminds me of that when he was like, I went and I talked to a doctor who diagnosed me with this mental illness. I won't say what religion that doctor practiced. It was a Jewish doctor. Like he just can't help himself. He can't help himself from saying, "Ha, Jews." You know? Oh my God.
Walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having a, you know, talk about you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it when every sensible person knows that. I mean, Jon Stewart knows what happened to me and they took it too far. It was like American History X.
Everyone knows what you're doing. You're having a mental episode and people are reacting to it. And a lot of it has to do with anti-Semitism, apparently. But nobody agrees to the fact that it's the Jews ruining their life. The Jews didn't make you go out and say all these wild and wacky things. It wasn't the Jews that made you show porn to Adidas executives, cuckold porn, and according to some other rap artists, you've shown them porn while you were collaborating with them. The Jews didn't make you do that. The Jews didn't make you say any of these things. You said these things. He said these things. And some of the people who are holding you to account are Jewish. But they're not holding you account because they're Jewish. They're holding you account because of your actions. They're bad.
Like my head was on the side of the curve and the exact people that I called out kicked my head. We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development in the Canadian military, essentially working on psyops in the Canadian military. This is Harley Pasternak.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, look, they tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me. And they when I asked them, how much lithium did you want to put me on exactly? It took them 4 days.
Wait, is that supposed to say that like he was working with the Canadian government in order to sabotage Kanye West's like reveal of the Jews? What's the accusation? And when we say MK Ultra, the Canadians weren't doing MK Ultra. The Americans did MK Ultra. How was he involved in MK Ultra? And MK Ultra was in the 60s and 70s.
To answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here and it would have been, woes, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears too. I mean, look at
they would have Michael Jackson
or worse, yeah.
So
look at what they did. Look at what they did to Britney when she went in.
Okay, sorry, I'm coughing, but this is getting actually bad. Because he's talking about like, oh, they wanted to bring all this stuff to me. They wanted to help me in this way, or supposedly help me in this way. And you hear Milo like, oh, they would have Britney Speared you. They would have taken you over. They would have taken your life away. You can't give up to these doctors and who knows what religion they're of, by the way, because they're gonna take over. It's all conspiracy. It's never Kanye's fault. It's always everyone else's fault. Everyone's out to get Kanye. Kanye's the victim. The multi-million, $100 million person, fucking billionaire. It's his fault. It's not it's not his fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's the Jews' fault. It's MK Ultra American agents' fault. It's the government. They're trying to come arrest him. It's a million different things, man. But it isn't Kanye's fault. And you're gonna have Milo, and you're gonna have other people around him who want to get access to his wealth, who want to get access to his attention because he's a famous guy, who want to get access to him and to have them on their shows, like Timcast. I don't know if Tim's doing this, but I fear that they could be feeding into these delusions, as we're seeing Milo right here saying, oh yeah, they would have Britney Spears you. They would have taken everything from you. Like they're feeding into it, man.
She was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way, but 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now. Yeah. You can see there's not much of her.
But if there's anything Kanye most clearly needs, it is medication, okay? It is medication. But you can even hear how Kanye talks about these doctors. He's like, oh, what religion does this doctor so happen to be? Like, you're going to make a person who desperately needs help in some way. I don't know what type of help. I'm not a medical professional, but you're feeding his fear of medical professionals, which is not good if he's having a mental health crisis, which a lot of people seem to think he is having. And I tend to agree with that. It does kind of look like that from the outside. I'm not in Kanye's car. I'm not in Kanye's room. I don't know. Really, I don't know the man. But I'm gonna be for real. I don't think the solution to any of this is making Kanye more fearful of doctors and telling him they're gonna take everything away from him if he like gets medical treatment.
her left.
You mentioned Pasternak was the name?
Yes, Harley Pasternak. That's the text message that you posted that we were talking about before.
That's the lobotomy friend.
You know?
Yeah.
Before the show, obviously, I'm getting a bunch of messages from people. People are hitting me up, and they're like, you shouldn't host them. They're anti-Semitic. They're white supremacists. They're racist. I do find the idea, I do find it funny or weird or whatever that, you know, Nick, they call you a white supremacist. You're here working with or for, you know, one of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest and most famous.
Nick Fuentes is an open white identitarian who denies the Holocaust. Whether or not he works with a black man does not remove that away, does not take that away. It would be like pointing to like, hey, oh really, you thought the Nazis were racist, dog? Really? Did you know about the famous SS Africa Corps, SS African soldiers? Did you know about these? Yeah, they had these African soldiers in Libya. Oh wow, you say Hitler's racist, but he let black people in his army. If he wasn't really racist, what the fuck is that? That doesn't prove that he isn't a racist. He specifically, Nick Fuentes has compared sleeping with black women to like sleeping with animals. He has openly said that he is against race mixing. He doesn't want the races to mix. That is racist. He wants to separate the races. He is an open racist. Whether or not he works with Kanye does not take away from that fact.
But a lot of people were saying on the right specifically, don't platform them. And I said, well, I want to understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. They're involved in what may be the biggest news story of the past.
Okay, to be clear, Tim Pool doesn't need to be like, oh, I'm not going to have Nick Fuentes on because people call him a white supremacist. Like, he doesn't need to not have him on, but you do need to be honest about what he believes and not sugarcoat it. Like, Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist. He is a white supremacist, whether you like it or not. He is.
Week, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Because the red media controls both sides. It just said it as simple as possible. Jared Kushner.
To be clear, when he says the red media, this is a dog whistle Kanye West himself created. He showed a list of media outlets and companies that's controlled by quote unquote the Jews, and he highlighted them in red and compared them to the ones that weren't, and they were highlighted in like different colors. And so he said, well, while we can't call out the Jews anymore, how about I just call out the red media, referring to the Jews. He created his own dog whistle to call out the Jews. Kanye West went away from revolutionizing music and is now revolutionizing anti-Semitism.
Was next to Trump. Ron Emanuel was next to Obama. But since 1940, go ahead.
I was going to say, isn't that an issue of these?
Jared Kushner was next to Trump. He was his son-in-law, but Jared Kushner did not control and have power over all this stuff because he was Jewish. He had influence in the Trump administration because he was the president's son-in-law. He didn't get it through his religious ties. He got it through his family. So the idea that, oh, this is the problem of the Jews. This isn't a problem of the Jews. This is a problem of the back scratching that goes on in political families where underqualified people get roles they're not supposed to have because they're related or are friends with the people in power, like Jared Kushner, who became the Middle East peace negotiator or whatever the fuck he ended up getting in the foreign policy agenda. But the reason he got the role wasn't because he was Jewish. It was because he's the president's son-in-law, former president's son-in-law.
Individuals, like you're extrapolating.
I'm going to order with the last of my money that's available in a different account. I'm going to order a PJ before I sit and have another Lex Friedman setup conversation when I'm literally they're trying to put me in jail for my opinion.
Dude, Lex Friedman had an interview with Kanye. Lex Friedman was more than kind to Kanye in that interview. I think it's a good interview, if I'm being completely frank. I don't know why he's now upset at the interview. I thought it was a good interview. He was held to account because Lex Friedman is Jewish, and he was like, I'm gonna, I need to talk to you about these statements you've made about the Jews. I don't know why he's so surprised that he went on a show hosted by a Jewish person, and that Jewish person did hold him to account to the things he said about the Jews controlling everything and the Jews ruining his life.
I'm not going to have that opinion. I don't care about people. Those are bots that are trying to tell you. We realize, look at Pence. He sold Trump out. You get what I'm saying? It's like, I would have never
I'm sorry. Pence literally would do everything for Trump besides literal treason. Pence stayed with Trump as long as he could until it was literally the time where he was like, I'm going to reject the results of a democratic election. Trump was unbelievably loyal. Pence was more loyal than most people around Trump, I'm going to be honest. There was a few times where he had opportunities, like early on during the 2015 campaign, where he asked, like, hey, maybe I can replace Trump after the grab him by the pussy stuff leaked. But after that, he was generally very, 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 very loyal to Trump. It was only at the end when Trump was asking him to commit treason and you know, violate his job as vice president of the United States and reject the results of a democratic election. That was the only time he said no.
Wanted to do anything that hurt Trump. I'm on Trump's side. Trump said things that hurt me. He lied about me, but I mean, he's known for lying. And when people used to tell me that, you know, he's a liar, it's like, you know, I went into the trenches for Trump. That's another conversation. There was no one in my position that wore that hat, and all of my surroundings exhausted me. It was like death by 1,000 questions. I know I'm jumping to another thing, but what I'm saying is, I know you got a rep for your people online, but it's you got a person in real life that I'm not with it, bro. I lost the money for the freedom of speech, and that's what makes me the only American that we know that really deserves to run the country, because everyone else, your boy DeSantis, Trump,
Nick Fuentes just nodding along. Dude, a lot of people will lose their jobs. No, actually, he's not the only person. A lot of people have lost their jobs because they've said dumb stuff. Say they've sexually harassed someone, or they've made a racist remark, or they've done many things at their workplace that they're not supposed to do and they lose their job. What Kanye did is he's gone on like a month-long spree of making comments about the Jews. It isn't that surprising that companies don't want to associate with somebody who's making comments about the Jews in the way he has made comments about the Jews. It isn't him purging himself for free speech. He says he was about to get arrested, but the government hasn't come knocking on his door to take him away, because we live in the United States. And even if you shouldn't, you're allowed to make the comments that he makes about Jews. He is not the victim dying for freedom of speech. He is free to run around and say the things he wants to say, but he isn't free to associate with everybody he wants to in the world if they don't want to associate with him because of the comments he makes about Jews. He's not a victim. If he's a victim of his own actions.
Whoever they raise in a petri dish over on the Democrat side is going to play the game.
Look,
and, like,
here's what I was trying to get to. You went right into the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about, but if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it. I'm going to disagree with you.
I didn't ask your opinion on it. You jumped into it. I don't care about your opinion. I like your opinion on how we win an election, but I don't care about anybody's opinion, bro. They tried to put me in jail. They blocked two.
I like it. I'm the one who should be president. I should run for president. Also, I don't care about anyone's opinion. He's the perfect politician.
$1 billion I had, like what I told Farrakhan. I said, look, is it anti-Semitic for me to say his name out loud? Like, I told
minister.
The minister. Like, I told
Obama met with him too.
Oh, he was. Yeah, I mean, the Jewish people allowed Obama to meet with the minister.
Mean?
You know, so
what does that mean that Jewish people allowed him? Did the Jews convene a meeting? Did they had a meeting where they're going to talk about like bagel sizes and Barack Obama's possible meeting with Louise Farrakhan, and they gave a thumbs up to both. And in this meeting at the Jew Council in New York, like where was this hosted? Where was this done? What do you mean the Jews allowed him? Barack Obama went and he met Louis Farrakhan, a very hateful man who hates the Jews, okay? The Jews didn't allow him to do that. Obama went and did that of his own fruition. And then years later, when it was brought up, Obama basically was like, I don't like Farrakhan. I met him at the time, but I don't like his beliefs. And that's the extent of the relationship, as far as I'm aware. So the Jews didn't come into fruition at all in this meeting that Barack Obama had Louise Farrakhan. There's no council of the Jews that gave him the thumbs up. He just went and he met Farrakhan. It's just like fucking everything is a conspiracy, but no evidence needs to be provided for any of these. This is the end result of our conspiratorial culture in this country. And I'm done calling it like, oh, we got a problem with conspiracy theorists. No, we got a conspiracy culture in this country. Everybody is 24/7 consuming stuff. In the 80s and 70s, it was like whatever. It was kind of fun, you know? Fun to talk about the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot and stuff like that. It was kind of fun. Everybody enjoyed talking about it. People might speculate a little bit about JFK, but it didn't go much further than that. But nowadays, it's no longer just one conspiracy theorist or two conspiracy theorists. There's a whole economy of conspiracy. There's a whole culture of conspiracy online of people talking about Satanist baby sacrifices and CIA coups in Ukraine and the Loch Ness Monster and the Jews manipulating this and the Jews manipulating that. And all these different conspiracies. The earth is flat. The Great Mud Flood. 9/11, an inside job. It's a whole culture of it. And there's a whole economy around it. Look how these conspiracy theorists are getting attention and money these days. Jimmy Dore, man. He made bank on conspiracies about Ukraine and about many other foreign issues. There's so many. Mark Dice was one of the people talking about how, these rappers are all going to be using these gay blood sacrifices to make bucks and bucket loads of money. And they keep evolving and growing. We got Alex Jones, Sandy Hook and Chief. We got so many different people who... It's no longer just a few instances of some fun conspiracy. We got a problem with conspiracy theorists in this country. We've got a culture of conspiracy theorists in this country. And these conspiracy theorists that are taking advantage of people who don't know any better, are making bank off of them by selling them vitamins, by selling them supplements, by selling them survival kits, because the world's always 1 week from ending. 1 week. The world's always 1 week away from destruction. And they're going to make a buck off you as long as they got that little week left. They're going to make as much money off of you as physically possible. And this is the end result. This is the natural evolution of this conspiracy culture in this country, of people wanting to live in a Tom Clancy novel. That's what this is. Nobody wants the easy explanation of Kanye West is having a mental episode, and it's really sad right now, and he's saying some things that are pretty ill. Instead, it's, no, maybe the Jews did work with the CIA and MK Ultra with the Canadian intelligence to take out Kanye, remove him from the banks. Maybe they are going to arrest him. And maybe this is connected to Jeffrey Epstein, connected to this. People want to live in that world because it's more interesting. It's easier to sell. And like on a thumbnail, it's going to look a lot more appealing and you're going to click it than if it just said man is anti-Semitic. Because that's the easy story. That's the most likely answer. But it's a lot more interesting if man is manipulated by Jews, Canadian intelligence, MK Ultra, and CIA agents to make him lose his music deals, and they're slandering, the great and powerful Nick Fuentes, and it was the Jews actually manipulating Nick Fuentes that got him into the room with Donald Trump. And it's much more fun to have the unadulterated, unfiltered, quote-unquote truth than it is to have the truth, which is a lot more boring. People want the truth. They don't want the truth. And it's so aggravating. It's so aggravating because it's always the people who will say, do your own research. I do my own research. I'm the person who goes out there and does the research that do the most minimal amount of research. What they mean by I do my own research is they scroll on Twitter and whatever memes they see, whatever things that pop up, they believe that. Unfiltered, untested, no fact checking, that's what they're going to consume, and that's what they believe. And it's so harmful. And you want to know what? I'm going to be honest. I know some of you fuckers in my chat do the same thing. That you do the same thing, and you're going to say you don't, but some of you do. If I ask you what's your primary way to get news, a lot of you are going to say Twitter. I know it too. You can't handle the truth. I know you guys do. So dude, we need to start looking at conspiracy theorists how they used to be looked at. As whack jobs, as wackadoodles, as nutcases, and we need to directly take these people on. I think NAFO, which is like the internet, like really pro-Ukraine, pushes against Russian disinformation. I think NAFO is a good start. Those type of internet communities that work together to debunk this nonsense, but we need more of that. We need more people engaged in that type of behavior. I know for most of us, we take these things for granted, of course the earth isn't flat. That shit's ridiculous. Of course the Jews don't manipulate everything. And even though we take it for granted, that doesn't mean everyone takes it for granted. Or that's something that people used to take for granted. They might stop taking it for granted, might start listening to this guy. We need to start pushing against it more and more and more. Because this stuff is getting toxic, man. This stuff is getting terribly toxic. And it isn't just with this. Another example of this would be the Club Q shooting. The conspiracies about gays grooming the next generation of youth. into being homosexuals so they can molest them. Those conspiracies are also leading to this type of violence, and that's an age-old conspiracy. Oh God, man, I can't view conspiracies as anything fun anymore because they're just doing so much harm to public discourse, doing so much harm to people too. And the sad thing is, it could have a genuine effect on how we run this country moving forward. These conspiracies, because it will affect how people vote. So yeah, look, I'm sorry. I'm anti-conspiracy culture. I'm now declaring a crusade against conspiracies.
Farrakhan said, well, did he have the money? The contract for the next 4 years, if I hadn't done anything, would have been $500 million a year for 4 years. What I was fighting for was the IP, so my children could, I'm sorry, just sometimes I think about 7 thoughts at one time, because anything I see, I come up with like 7 answers to it and then just choose what it is. But the thing is, when I said my children, the reason why my brain kind of blocked, because it's like God is saying, you know, your children are going to be okay. Baby mama's got money, right? God is using me. He's breaking me down, removing all of the, richest person, all of this, so I can serve him. And the more and more those things are taken away from me, the more I can be empty and be a vessel and be able to be used. And right now, it's like, you're not going to take, if we can't, you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say, it's the Holocaust, this happened, and you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like, I thought I was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK, because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press and financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my arm.
Oh my God. Okay, to be clear, there are people who have actually gone out and been hosed down and beaten and brutalized in protest. People have died, both in the United States, in Ukraine, in India, and every country in the world, protesting against governments and protesting against injustice, and dying and getting brutalized. Him being criticized for anti-Semitic statements is not like the police sending the dogs on you. Come on. Dude, it's always Kanye victim this, Kanye victim that, man. My God, all the people who tell me they hate victim culture the most are always the ones also claiming to be the most victimized.
And I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you.
Who was they, though? We can't say who they is, can we?
Corporate press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking
it is
about
them, though, isn't it? I mean, because
no. See, there it is. There it is. They got him on the show, and there it is immediately. It is them. I mean, of course it's them. We know they're the ones doing it, right, Tim? And he's on the show. He's in there with Kanye, man. He's in there with Milo. The fucking, what is it? The chickens run the hen house, man. I mean, he's taking on 3 at 1.
Because when you think about it, consider it. In 2018...
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean?
See, now Kanye's even up at... Like, how do you mean it's not them? Of course it's them. Like it's almost like, how can you say it's not the Jews, Tim?
Like, okay, so how about... Are you leaving?
Are you afraid of the press?
He's gone. I'll say it right now. You got
What just happened? I'm sorry, what just happened? Wait, who was that? Who just walked off stream? Did somebody just get too offended or like too angry about that? Who was that?
He's gone.
Are you afraid of the press?
Is that Kanye? Is he just leaving?
He's gone.
Kanye just left?
I'll say it right now. You guys want to bring that stuff up? And then think we're not going to have a conversation?
Like, have the discussion.
Like you think Ye's going to come in here and say, here's my pain, here's my suffering. I'm going to say, I hear you. And then he's going to say, and it was Jewish people. And I'm going to be like, okay, but don't you consider, it's like, I'm not going to do this. I refuse.
Make sure he's cool.
All right, go for it. Luke and I will have a conversation.
Wow.
So I can't say I'm surprised.
Wow, they gotta go console him. They gotta go console him. This guy isn't stable. At the slightest pushback against his opinions, as he's saying he's being hosed down for his beliefs about the Jews. The slightest pushback, and like a baby, he gets up, he walks away. Oh, people sad. Oh no, poor Kanye was told that not everyone believes the Jews control the world, and he has to go walk out because that was so offensive to him. And now he needs Milo Yiannopoulos, the fake ex-gay, even though he's clearly the gayest man in America, has to now walk out and console him and make sure he's okay. Don't want him to have a breakdown. I'm sorry, man. I couldn't have less sympathy for a person in the world. Oh my God.
What do I even do? Other than ask him, please elaborate on this. Are you referring to individuals, or are you quite literally blaming an entire group of people for
there goes Milo to go help him, go console him? Oh my God.
Fact that powerful individuals are causing you harm?
I really wanted to ask Nick about his thoughts about MLK, because I know they contradict his comments about that. But again, these are mass generalizations that don't really help anyone in my perspective. They just kind of sound like their opposition. They sound what they're kind of going against, the woke mob that's always saying white men are responsible for everything. When I see people just use generalizations, it kind of cheapens the conversations. It cheapens a dialogue that we could have here that I was planning to talk to.
Yeah, I just saw this in the site chat from Simpson. Mild criticism, my only weakness.
About specifically bringing up, like, hey, let's actually talk about this in a real concise way. Let's not get emotional. Let's not walk out of here. Let
me tell all you guys outright. I said, this is going to be a big issue. Before the show, obviously, people are going to bring up the questions of anti-Semitism.
Can I just say, I think Tim Pool, even though there was that one bungle earlier, like, people call you white supremacist, Nick. Besides that, he seems to have brought enough heat, at least, to get Milo and Kanye out of the room. So he's given pushback. I got to give credit where credit's due. He's given pushback. He's being direct about where his pushback is. He does not agree with them on the Jews, right? But to be fair, also, to critics of Tim Pool, it doesn't take a lot to piss off Kanye, it seems. And it didn't take a lot to get Milo out of the room to help Kanye. So it feels like the slightest amount of pushback is enough to scare him, it almost feels like. Let it play. Maybe he'll come back. Maybe he'll come back and be like, I'm cool, let's talk.
Semitism.
We'll see.
Why don't we talk about the news? I want to hear what happened with this meeting. I want to understand what Ye 24 is, and then we can do a longer conversation about any of that stuff. And Ye, literally in the first 5 minutes, says, no, I want to talk about a group of people and point to them. Whatever, man. You want to know why? Look, you're not going to sit here and you're going to walk out of the room. You're free to do so, man. But literally, I said a couple sentences about, I don't think that's fair. Did I insult the man? He seriously can't handle it?
He also left during the Piers Morgan interview he did, but he came back. So, again, we should be able to have this conversation. What's up, Chris?
He wants his phone.
Oh, yeah.
Look, man, I wanted to talk to these guys about why they're meeting with Trump. I want to know what happened with the dinner, because we hear a lot of rumors about it.
I want to hear about their 2024 platform, which they were promising, which they were talking about, like they're going to be officially.
Let me explain to everybody. Unfortunate they walked out. Fine, maybe they'll come back. Whatever. This is the biggest challenge with dealing with identitarianism. I do not believe that the predeterminate factor in someone's worth, value, or agenda is based on immutable characteristics. Kanye is a black man. He does not represent all black people. There are Jewish individuals who work in banks. Dave Chappelle made the joke about Jewish people in Hollywood. And he said, but it doesn't mean anything. You got a lot of black people in Ferguson, doesn't mean they run the place. The point is, I'm all about individualism, meritocracy, personal responsibility. That means an individual of any background can be capable of anything. More importantly, we have employees here who are Jewish, who spend time in Israel, and would probably agree with a lot of issues that they would talk about, especially as it pertains to America first, bringing jobs back here and securing our borders. But then it's just like every step of the way, it's like, bro, if you live in a world where a single group of people is haunting you, you're trapped. You're not going to get out. The issue is you can overcome anything.
Does Tim Pool hold this same standard though for LGBTQ plus critics like Matt Walsh though? I just want to, I agree with everything that Tim Pool's saying here. I just want to make sure he's holding this on a consistent basis, because I want to see that same fire and fury for when Matt Walsh makes that comments that he made about groomers so quickly after The Club Q shooting. We said they were hosting like, well, actually, no, what? I can't say that to Tim Pool because he also said that Club Q was hosting a grooming event, which is just not true. They weren't hosting a grooming event. So never mind. He literally doesn't hold the standard. Never mind. Whatever.
Understand, you know, and I empathize that there are powerful business interests that are coming at Kanye. And I will also say this, because I wanted to get into the Trump stuff. When Kanye mentioned he got suspended on Twitter, then he gets word that Milo wants to meet up with him. Then Milo puts him in touch with Fuentes. My immediate, question is, okay, my thought to myself, we really want to know about the inner details of this Trump meeting. I guess it's not going to happen. My question then is, don't you think that, if Kanye is going to say these things and then immediately start getting involved with Fuentes, that only amplifies the accusations made against him? But I guess if they genuinely believe these things, that's who they are.
I was dying to interrupt. I was dying to say a whole bunch of stuff during his, his conversation. I respectively, didn't. I was waiting to counter back, but we didn't even push back at all. Really, we didn't even really say anything crazy out there. I mean, come on. Like we should at least have the tough conversations. We should debate these ideas.
What does he think's going on?
And I don't know, but I just wish people were again like, hey, you don't agree with me 100%, that's fine, that's okay, I'm not gonna run away. like come on, let's have this discussion, let's have this conversation. I really wanted to talk about Balenciaga, I really wanted to talk about Harley Pasternak, I really wanted to talk about Dave Chappelle talked about a lot of the things that Ye was warning about, specifically with people trying to drug him, specifically with people trying to, of course, get him on big pharma medicines. He was again sent to, he was institutionalized a couple years ago, specifically on November 21st, 2016. He's pointing a lot of this blame on this Harley Pasternak guy, who, again, he's the one who's training Lizzo, Elliot Page. He was training Brittany Murphy. He trained a lot of controversial figures, and he is connected to Canadian military psyops. That's we should know what else is happening behind the scenes there. What else he knows?
Wait, you didn't prove anything. Just as he's connected to some military stuff does not mean that he was doing one on Kanye.
But
does Kanye come back? Or is this it? Wow, no. That's the show. Is that really it? No way.
Before the show,
we can't even get that.
Before the show, Ye was like, this was funny. He's like, how do I become president? How do you win? And I thought it was a rhetorical question because, why would I know that question? And he was like, hey, man, I asked you a question. What do you think? And I was like, oh, ballot harvesting, hands down. You go to door. He brought it up when he mentioned that I said that he would do well with the black vote. I feel like that's kind of oversimplifying what I said. What I said was that he's a celebrity. He's a personable character. He appeals to regular people more so. If he knocks,
is that really it? Is that like the whole show? Is that it? Really? That is wild. Is that really it? Skip to present. Let's see.
Everybody, and thus they end up putting themselves out more, which increases the likelihood of fame and notoriety.
Yeah, I think that's it. Hey, how's it going? Okay, you're just gonna get the turtle? Mm-hmm. Okay, they're taking my turtle away, chat. Stealing the turtle. The turtle was here for a very short period of time. The turtle's now gone. Turtle kidnapping. It was they? The same they that Kanye talks about. No, not actually. No. I was keeping the turtle for Riley. Riley Grace Rochong. It's their turtle. I stole it again, and now they want it back. I was turtle sitting for them. Kanye is a baby. I can't believe he actually just walked out. If he's running for president, he knows he can't. If he keeps doing that in interviews, he's just gonna look like a child, right? Right? Like he just looks like a child. He just doesn't. God, man. And Tim was giving him a very friendly interview. It wasn't like. He wasn't hostile. He wasn't too mean to him. He wasn't he wasn't even asking particularly difficult questions. I don't know who's that one. Jesus Christ, she looks like a ghost. And I was not trying to be mean. I don't know why. I just every time she comes on screen, she kind of scares me a little bit. Who is that? I have no clue who that is. Anyway, what I was getting at is it feels like, God, she keeps coming up and I keep getting scared. what I'm getting at is I don't understand why Kanye walked off. It seemed like he just walked up solely when he said like the comment about like I do not believe Jews control the world. That's all that was needed for Kanye to walk off.